Thank you very much.
Okay, so any other questions in the panel or any comments to what was said before? I think what we all see is that after the panelists have introduced themselves and their angle on this topic is that censorship is occurring from many perspectives on our society. So it's not easy to pinpoint it to just a problem that we have with the internet maybe, or a problem that we have in a government agency that is trying to prevent publication of information, or corporate interests. So it's a multi-level effort where people try to suppress information from various angles, and I think it is very important that we all understand and try to form one voice that is speaking out against any form of censorship, and not just concentrating on an effort on the internet or shaping transparency in a government. It needs to be a more harmonized effort that is, I think, has to be addressed.
So another piece of that, I was talking mostly about censorship in third world countries and China and really oppressive regimes. And then we've been hearing stories about censorship in the UK and Germany and Netherlands and the US. And we really have to think of this not as that censorship and this censorship. It's really one category that's affecting all of these different countries and all of these different citizens in each of these countries. We can't think of it as, I'm glad I don't live in China. We have to start thinking of it as one country and one world and one people, and how to solve the problems everywhere.
Hello, I wanted to ask a specific question, the question of media. Why do you think that journalists are very often very pro-censorship? Like the Spiegel has, in this news issue, a big tagline, internet should have limits, internet should be controlled. So why are journalists so pro-censorship?
Well, I'm pretty cynical when they are. I would say in the case of Spiegel, it's competition. It's that simple. The older journalist establishment feels that the internet, and rightly so actually, is economic competition. There's also a bit of playing to the popular mood. Mainstream publications, and it's perfectly reasonable for there to be mainstream publications, have to act like the good guy in order to be tolerated by their readers. And if their readers have a particular view about what is good and what is bad, it provides an opportunity for these organizations like the Spiegel to show that they are on the reader's side of the fence, even when that can be misleading the reader, even when that is self-destructive in the press.
Hi, yeah, I mean, I've had some experience of the media and the way it can be controlled from two sides of the fence, really. One, of course, there's the sort of legal sanctions, as I mentioned in my short introduction. But there's a sort of culture as well. Certainly in the UK, we have this establishment-type grouping of people, the political elite, whatever you want to call them. And the press should be holding the establishment to account, you know, big business or government or intelligence agencies or whatever, but quite often they get seduced into being part of that establishment. So they have a sort of vested interest in not annoying the sources of their stories, i.e. their PR, too much. Otherwise they don't get the stories and then they lose their jobs. So it's quite a seductive thing, particularly when you get into the world of intelligence. You're part of the charm circle as well. You're getting stories nobody else gets. Certainly as well, just picking up on the intelligence side, there is a section, I should have mentioned before, called Information Operations within MI6, the external intelligence agency, which is there precisely to plant stories, fake stories in the media, or to manipulate and spin stories in the media to their own interests. So it can be quite a sort of hard-nosed approach to how you can control the media on certain issues. And certainly over the last decade, we've seen government spin of the media reaching new lows as well. So there's all sorts of different levers and mechanisms that can dissuade journalists from wanting to be the new Woodward and Bernstein. Quite often they just become mouthpieces for the establishment.
One word to the former news magazine Spiegel. I have the fear there are some very intelligent people, very few intelligent people, and many very very normal people. And my fear is they believe in that what they write and that what they don't write.
Another really important part of the explanation is that it's still not many journalists who really understand how the internet works. They know a couple of mechanisms for censorship in the real world, as in somebody publishes something and it's either ruled by a judge to be non-compliant and therefore it's taken off the shelves, or you know that you can't publish certain things, you can't publish slander, so you don't. And they think that the same mechanism as is applies to the internet, and they don't know all the intricacies of the net, so they translate their knowledge, analog knowledge, to a new medium that they don't fully understand, thus not understanding the implications of what they're saying. And for instance, with all these filtering lists, nobody... It starts by saying, yeah, it's against child pornography, and everybody goes, yeah, that's a good idea, actually we should. But nobody knows the intricacies of how the filtering works, and nobody understands that if we can't check what is being filtered, it's so easy to block more than what you actually want to block, even because sometimes different websites share a same IP address. So you might be filtering much more than you intend. That's the kind of technical stuff that especially Der Spiegel doesn't know two hoots about. So that adds another layer of complexity to the whole censorship issue.
Okay. I would like to shift the discussion a little bit, if I may, because I think the idea here also, at least as I understand it, is a little bit to figure out what's going on and what are we going to do about it. Yes. One of the things that worries me about this field and about a lot of other fields that are in our general sphere of interest and that have to do with law enforcement and intelligence is that it's extremely hard to figure out where policy is formulated and how it's being effectuated. It's extremely hard just in the European Union to figure out who are the current players, what are they doing, who is currently in charge, and which parts of EU policy are just whitewash of some country's national policy. A lot of new people need to get into this, need to get into policy research, political research, need to really start studying what their governments are doing at a very professional level. There are people already doing this, but I'm personally upset when I see how haphazard and coincidental some of our knowledge is. We need a much broader base. We need much more research to even understand a lot of the things that are going on, at least in my opinion.
I guess as well that this is a general issue that we see. There are too many people that might agree to certain things these days, or